Welcome back, ballroom dance friends. Today is a part 2 video. So if you missed yesterday's video on getting the best choreography, definitely click on the link that I will include in the description below. Okay, so this is in follow-up to one of our ballroom dance friends' comments, a question they had regarding the pros and cons of flying to get visiting coaching versus flying that visiting coach in for the visiting coaching. And which one is best really depends on your situation. So I'm gonna give a little background on that today, okay? So for me, when I was an amateur dancer, it was best for me to fly out to see the visiting coaches. Here's why. When you fly out, you will pay less per hour for the coaching. Number 2, you do not have to guarantee a certain number of hours. So for your learning, most people cannot handle 8 lessons in a day. Some can, and if you can, great. But when you fly them in, you have to guarantee a certain number of hours. When you fly to them, you can just book 1 lesson if you want. You book to your needs, okay? And number 3, when I would fly to them, I would always dovetail it with competitions in that area. So for example, I was flying to England 3 times a year anyway, for Blackpool, for the Elsa Wells International, for the UK Open. So for me, it wasn't like it was an extra travel expense per se, okay? I mean, it was in that I would have to stay after the comp, depending on how many coaching sessions I wanted. I would usually stay like 2 weeks, but so as an amateur, that's what worked best in my circumstance, okay, guys? Now, when I owned a dance studio, and as you probably know, I owned the largest ballroom dance studio in the US for over 15 years. I would regularly fly coaches in to my studio. And part of the time that I owned that studio, I was competing as a professional. So the benefit to me in that case was I would fly that pro in, I would book the lessons that I could handle, and my partner at that time had arthritis, so he couldn't take that many coachings in a given day. You know, I was game. I could have taken 10. I was gung-ho, but you know, you do have to work around physical and mental limitations to maximize your learning. And then I had a big posse of competitive students. So when I flew them in, I'd book for myself, and I would fill up all those other lessons for visiting coaching for my students so they could take advantage, okay? So in that case, that was best to fly the pro in. So Smack, I don't know exactly about your situation, but I'm gonna assume that you pay for your pros travel when you travel somewhere, that you pay for their lost lessons that they couldn't teach when they were traveling with you, that you're paying for their additional time that they are in the lesson with you, taking with the visiting coach, and you're paying the visiting coach. And if this is the case, flying that visiting coach in is gonna be preferable. Here's why. Number 1 is the opportunity cost. You will not miss work, so you'll be able to make income while that coach is in town. If you fly out somewhere, you can't be making money. Number 2, you pay for one person's travel, meaning that visiting coach. You don't have to pay for yourself and your pro for 2 plane tickets, for 2 hotel rooms, okay guys? So immediately you've cut the travel costs in half, okay? Number 3, your pro can take those privates with you, but still teach their other clientele. So you won't need to compensate them for those lost lessons that they would lose if they were out of town with you. Now, here's why I charge, and my students, more when I have to leave town. It's not the cost of those few, lessons I missed that day or whatever. I really could care less about one day's worth of income. The big risk to me as the pro is if I cancel too many lessons with another student, they will dump me as a pro for another teacher permanently who's willing to show up for them. Okay, no one wants to feel like they're playing second fiddle to their pros other students. It's really, is it an exorbitant cost to pay your pro for those missed lessons? Yes, absolutely. Is it justified? Unfortunately, yes, absolutely. There is a big cost to them, a risk. Whereas if their other students know that you're paying for that time, they know you're not favoring that student, you're just, making your living. Now, is this part of the reason I recommend competing amateur if money is an issue for you? Absolutely. I highly recommend people compete amateur. It's much cheaper. Will you grow faster if you take a bunch of prom lessons? Yes, but it's expensive. Okay, guys? So that's my 2 cents there. Number 4, assuming it is an option in your studio for scheduling, other students can book lessons with that pro. So that defrays the travel costs. So not only now are you paying for one hotel and one flight, but you have other people booking those lessons, which further decreases the cost to you for paying for that pro's flight and hotel. The downside when I fly in pros, which I have done many, many, many times when I owned a studio, was that you must guarantee a certain number of hours of coaching a day, and B, a daily minimum. So for example, I guarantee, okay, I'm going to book 10 45-minute privates for you in a day. Now, if they don't teach their privates, I still have to pay them, okay? When I did this, which I did many, many times, almost always I would have people forget their lesson, no show up at the wrong time, cancel at the last minute, and I was stuck paying that pro for a lesson they didn't even show up for. So if you do this, highly, highly, highly strongly encourage you to have them prepay with non-refundable payment, okay, guys, and have them sign it. I have a feeling if you do that, they won't pull a doozy on you. They'll remember to show up, okay, guys? Finally, although I have personally never done this, I have seen some pros will pay for half of that private with the visiting coach and even pay for their own travel. And I've seen this in 2 circumstances. Again, it's rare, but I have seen it. Number 1, if the student outgrows that pro's ability to teach them. Okay, so you can have, you're just going to be able to take with the best pro that your town has to offer. Okay, there's probably better pros out there. But it does behoove you to be able to dance with someone in between those visiting coachings. So if that pro goes with you, they're benefiting by learning from the lessons. They're benefiting because they were able to charge you for lessons when you go home to essentially have practice time with them. They're benefiting from you becoming a better dancer than they could possibly teach you alone. So they kind of get to ride on the coattails of that visiting coach. Okay. Or in the case of students learning syllabus with me, when the pro shows up with that teacher, they just get to learn the syllabus and then they can teach that to umpteen different students. Okay, guys? The second circumstance, I have seen it. Okay, guys, it's ugly. It's when the pro is trying to get into that student's pants. It is not common, but I wouldn't say it if I hadn't seen it. But you know what? I'm here to share all of the amazing, good, amazing, joyful, ethical, wonderful things about ballroom dance, and a few of the shady things that I've seen too, because I've seen it all. So, in a nutshell, Smack, it is best to fly them in, usually. I hope that's been helpful, guys. Thanks so much for asking a question, Smack. That makes my job so easy here to choose topics that, might be interesting or most helpful for everyone. So thanks so much for joining me today. Hey, if you like all things ballroom dance and hearing different stories each day, I share my lifelong experiences here. Please subscribe to my channel. Okay, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow, guys. Have an awesome day and happy dancing.